Hello, you're watching World News on TVP World. I'm Sasha Farbach. U.S. President Donald Trump has spoken with his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, just hours after Russia launched a barrage of drones and ballistic missiles on Kyiv. That follows a similar call on Thursday with Russian leader Vladimir Putin, which Trump says did not make any progress.
Donald Trump's patience with Vladimir Putin appears to be wearing thin.
I don't think he's there, and I'm very disappointed. Well, it's not, I'm just saying, I don't think he's looking to stop, and that's too bad.
An hour-long phone call between the pair on Thursday, failing to trigger a breakthrough. Instead, as day turns to night, Moscow launched a record number of drones into Ukrainian buildings and residential areas, in its largest air assault since the full-scale invasion began. Those in Kyiv forced to take shelter, including TVP World editor Piotr Kuchma, who was caught in the city as the attacks unfolded.
At some point, I honestly thought the blast wave would rip through the heavy metal doors where cars enter this garage.
Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski quickly took to social media, calling out Putin for mocking President Trump's peace efforts and revealing a Polish consulate was damaged. It's not the first time diplomatic missions in Kyiv have been impacted, with a building hosting the Argentine, Portuguese, Moroccan, North Macedonian and Palestinian embassies hit earlier this year. The onslaught comes after Washington halted some shipments of air defense missiles and ammunition to Ukraine, citing low stockpiles, though reports now suggest the Pentagon found the aid would not, in fact, hurt American readiness.
Ever since the Oval Office scene with Zelenskyy, European NATO members have seriously woken up and are now facing the possibility that indeed U.S. military aid for Ukraine will decrease, maybe even be reduced to zero at some point in the future. Well, Europeans will still hopefully be able to buy weapon systems in the U.S. I mean, that's, again, I think in the Trumpian definition of American interest, that would be a positive. But the weapons have to be there, of course.
It's believed that weapons already in Poland and en route to Ukraine were caught up in the move. And after another sleepless night in the war-torn country's capital,
I had a feeling that something was flying every minute. The drones were descending and then bang, bang. Everything is covered in soot now. It's difficult to breathe there.
Those weapons could prove to be more important than ever. Aaron Darman, TVP World.
I think I'm tougher on Russia than I was on almost any other country. That's according to U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday in response to journalists' questions about his latest call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to Trump, their discussion focused heavily on the possibility of sanctions.
We talk about sanctions a lot, yeah.
What does he say?
I would say he's not thrilled with it, but, he's been able to handle sanctions, but these are pretty biting sanctions. No, we talk about sanctions a lot, and he understands that it may be coming, and, he's a professional. Yeah, I'd like to see it happen. I don't want to see 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 soldiers killed every week. And you have other people, but for the most part, so far it's been mostly soldiers, and they're Ukrainian soldiers, and they're also Russian soldiers. But it's 5,000 souls, and they're being killed every single week. So it's really higher than that now. No, I think I'm tougher on Russia than I was on almost any other country.
In his daily evening address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy spoke about the phone call he held with Donald Trump. He also highlighted the agreement between Kyiv and Copenhagen to jointly produce weapons in Denmark, calling it an important step forward.
I also spoke with President Trump today, which was an important conversation. We agreed on a meeting between our teams about strengthening air defense. We discussed joint production in detail, which is something both we and the United States need. We also saw an important decision taken in Europe today, in Denmark. It's our first agreement to produce arms in Europe for Ukraine, which is a joint production effort between Ukraine and Denmark. This is vital for our security as well as in terms of investments.
Poland's Interior Minister Tomasz Siemoniak is visiting the Polish-Lithuanian border on Saturday, where he'll meet with his Lithuanian counterpart Władysławas Kondratowicz at Bodzisko, one of two border crossings between the two countries.
The migration crisis at the Polish-Belarusian border, which has been ongoing since the summer of 2021 and was brought on by Belarus, has prompted Poland to reinstate border controls with both Lithuania and Germany. The Interior Minister's visit comes ahead of the reintroduction of temporary border controls on Monday, July 7th, in response to a rise in irregular migration, largely driven by routes originating in Belarus and passing through Lithuania. Checks will be implemented at 13 locations across the 104-kilometer border, including 3 major crossings that operate 24/7. Officials say the move is aimed at enhancing national and EU security while minimizing disruptions to everyday cross-border travel.
The hydrological situation in Warsaw is becoming increasingly concerning. Now, recent measurements showed the Vistula River at only 15 centimeters on Saturday. Due to the critically low water levels, ferry and water tram services on the Vistula have been suspended because navigation is no longer safe. The Institute of Meteorology and Water Management forecasts that water levels could drop even further in the coming days, possibly reaching as low as 12 to 15 centimeters. This would be approximately 2 meters below the average level for this time of year. As Poland grapples with its first extreme heat wave of the year, temperatures in Warsaw and many other regions have soared 36 degrees Celsius, well above the seasonal norm. The scorching heat combined with low soil moisture is causing Poland's rivers, including the Vistula, to dry up at unprecedented rates. While the forecast suggests some rainfall across Central Europe by midweek, it is unlikely to immediately alleviate the historically low levels of the rivers. The extreme low water levels in the Vistula reflect a broader European trend where major rivers like Germany's Rhine and Hungary's Danube are also experiencing unprecedented lows due to prolonged heat and drought. Joining the EU by 2030, this is the goal for Moldova, a 2.5 million country in Eastern Europe. To expedite this process, Moldovan President Maia Sandu on Friday evening hosted the first ever EU-Moldova summit with Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen and Head of European Council Antonio Costa in attendance. With last year's referendum on EU accession in the country greenlighting its European trajectory, now Moldova needs to navigate a host of challenges, the hardest one being Russian influence. Piotr Majrzak has this report.
Following the EU-Moldova summit, the two top EU officials, Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa, pledged their unwavering support for Moldova. They said that they want to forge closer ties with Europe's poorest country, and they said that Moldova's place is in the European Union. Ursula von der Leyen also added that the first tranche, 270 million euros, have already been released for Moldova. This is part of a larger package, 1.9 billion euros, that are to help Moldova boost its reforms, such as fighting against organized crime or strengthening the rule of law. Moldova's plan all along was to separate its path, its European path, from that of Ukraine, despite the fact that both countries started their negotiations process at the same time, despite the fact that they both received their candidate status at the same time. Ursula von der Leyen also said that for Moldova now is the time to take the next step.
I can confirm that we released the first 270 million euros. It means a new multi-regional hospital, restored district heating in Chisinau, and lower electricity and gas bills, and of course lots of investment in the competitiveness of Moldova. We will also abolish the roaming costs for Moldovans traveling to the European Union.
This would mean for Moldova that the official negotiations, the true negotiations, are starting. But obviously this is not the end, because Moldova needs to boost its reforms. Moldova needs to fight against Russian interference that is quite omnipresent in the country, especially given that in 2 months' time we will see a crucial parliamentary election. We'll see whether the pro-European government of Prime Minister Dorin Recian will get approval from the country's population. Especially given that only 60% of Moldovans support Moldova's accession to the EU. Last year they held a referendum and they won with a very narrow margin. So this will be crucial months, and we'll see how Moldova will be able to stave off Russian hybrid attacks. For TVP World from Chisinau, I'm Piotr Majrzak.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he had signed letters to 12 countries outlining new tariffs on their imports to the United States. The letters are set to be sent on Monday, July 7th, and mark a critical deadline in the 90-day period during which the U.S. has been navigating tariff adjustments. Although the complete list of countries is still under wraps, the July 9th deadline signals that previously paused reciprocal tariffs could soon take effect, raising questions about which nations will be most affected.
I did. I signed some letters, and they'll go out on Monday, probably 12. 12 different amounts of money, different amounts of tariffs, and somewhat different statements.
Mr. President, which countries will receive those letters on Monday?
You'll be announced. I have to announce it on Monday. I can't.
It was a tough start for Poland's national team in their historic Women's Euro debut last night. Facing tournament giants Germany, the Poles held strong in the first half, but eventually fell 2-0 in Zurich.
Despite the loss, the team showed great discipline and heart, with goalkeeper Kinga Szemik making several crucial saves. Captain Eva Pajer led the attack with determination, but clear chances were few against the dominant German team. Moving forward, Poles will turn their focus to Sweden in their next group match, still hopeful to make a mark in their first European Championship.
Poland's Majrzak has advanced to the top 16 stage Wimbledon for the first time in his career. The 29-year-old beat Arthur Rinderknecht from France 6-3, 7-6 and 7-6. This was the first time the two players met on the court, with the Pole being ranked number 109 in the world and the Frenchman sitting at 72. Majrzak's next match will see him face off against Russia's Karen Khachanov, who advanced to the top 16 after beating Portugal's Nuno Borges. The Pole has played Khachanov 3 times in the past, winning each time, making the upcoming match not only a matter of advancing in the tournament, but also a personal affair. Sunshine, sound checks, and a sea breeze. On a disused airfield near Gdynia, 130,000 music lovers have descended for Poland's biggest summer party, the Open Air Festival. Karolina Szapland reports.
The 22nd Open Air Festival is now in full swing. It's Poland's largest and most diverse musical event, bringing artists from all over the world, from global superstars like FK Twigs, who's playing right behind me, to indie bands like Mother Mother, who spoke with us earlier.
The Poland audience is one of our biggest streamers in the world, so we can go behind the scenes and see who's streaming our songs the most, and it's Warsaw is right in the top 5. And as a Canadian band, that is just so bizarre. So of course we have to come pay respect to our best fans.
I mean, this is a really beautiful setting. We couldn't be happier to be in this weather and this beautiful outdoor space. And the fans are just so giving, so much love. They're polite, but also fun. Like, you can't ask for a better fan than the Polish fans, so we just feel so grateful.
Open Air is known as a warm, friendly festival, and 130,000 attendees will attend. I'm just talking to one of the fans. Girls, hi! Why do you love Open Air?
I love that there are so many new artists that I hadn't heard of before, and that I can listen to some new genres that I didn't even know before, and we can discover new music, and that everybody just wants to have fun here.
I love the atmosphere. It's our first time actually, and we've met some amazing people, so it's great.
With 3 days behind us, there is still so much more to experience. We all awaiting Doci and Camila Cabello, but of course the final act, set to play the center stage, is Linkin Park, and I will be here reporting from Gdynia. I'm Karolina Szapland for TVP World.
Now, with that musical beat, we conclude this World News, but of course we'll be back at the top of the hour with more, so join us then here on TVP World. Goodbye.